You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good morning, it's February the 5th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. Good morning, Rev Cindy. How you doing?
Good morning, Al. I'm doing well, and how about yourself?
Not doing too bad. Not doing too bad myself. Had a bit of a rough day a couple days ago, but I got through it.
Yeah.
Just something I ate.
Yeah, and with any kind of lower digestive issues, you got to watch what you eat.
Oh, yeah, I could feel it making its way through my intestines because Crohn's disease, and I have strictures, so I have narrowing in my bowel, and I believe it was a piece of an orange that I didn't completely chew all the way.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
That's all it takes.
I'm glad it only lasted a day.
That's right, exactly. Me too. Me too, because it's nasty. I see that we're about to get hit with another storm here in Ontario, so get ready. It's coming your way, I imagine.
Yay.
Boy, we didn't get much rain last summer, but I hope we don't get as much rain as we're getting snow this year.
Oh, fingers crossed. I hope that we're getting it with snow and that the snow soaks into the ground and really saturates the earth for everybody that has snow. That's going to help with forest fires or keep them at a low next spring and summer. But I hope that it equates into not necessarily a completely dry spring and summer, but a drier spring and summer.
Drier one, yeah. But because I know by the end of the summer, the swamps around here were dry, literally no water.
Oh, last summer was terrible. Yeah, there was droughts all over Canada.
Exactly. All right. Well, it's time for us to get on with the news. We covered the weather,
as always.
Seems to be part of our start off. But let's get at her. We've got 8 stories today, and some very informative and educational ones. So
yes.
Let's go.
Okay, well, coming to us in our first story is coming to us from StratCan. RCMP here in Nova Scotia sees numerous cannabis products from an unlicensed store in Welton Landing. The RCMP in Nova Scotia conducted an inspection under the Nova Scotia Cannabis Control Act at an illegal cannabis storefront in Welton Landing on January 30th. Kings District RCMP, with support from the Kings District RCMP General Investigation Section, visited an unlicensed cannabis storefront in the 3100 block of Highway 12, and they seized numerous cannabis products. According to Jason Popkett, who is the district policing officer of the Southwest Nova District RCMP, he says during the inspection, officers were met with crude language, persistent swearing, and racist commentary. We are mandated to enforce provincial and federal laws that apply to the sale of cannabis, which our officers were doing. This behavior reflects some of the conduct officers encounter while doing their jobs in our communities. I commend the team on their professionalism and persistence in stopping the illegal cannabis market. The investigation is still ongoing. The Nova Scotia RCMP reminds residents that the only licensed retailers that can legally sell cannabis in the province. Several recent social media posts made by the Mi'kmaq Rights Association, which represents numerous stores selling cannabis outside of the provincial and federal cannabis regulations, show a raid on January 30th, 2026 at the Gaspereau Lake Treaty Truck House. And this location, of course, matches the addresses provided by the RCMP. And one post refers to the enforcement as economic genocide. Nova Scotia's provincial government recently called law enforcement to take action against unlicensed cannabis stores selling cannabis products. The Nova Scotia RCMP responded to this announcement by saying they have no plans to change their approach to addressing illegal cannabis in the province. As Nova Scotia RCMP spokesperson noted, that in 2025, officers charged 21 people with more than 50 offenses after executing search warrants at 13 unlicensed cannabis storefronts in the province. I know a few of those people that have been charged, and luckily those for a few of those people, those charges have been completely dropped, which is amazing. Nova Scotia RCMP have also pushed back on recent claims about illicit cannabis from provincial government, including the claim that police have found fentanyl in cannabis from illicit sources. And we've reported on that before, Al, and know that no fentanyl has been found here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, they had to jump in all over the premiere on that. Now, the one thing it mentions it was in an illicit store, but I don't know where Welland Landing is. Is that on the reserve, or is this a reserve store?
It is an Indigenous owned treaty truck house. All treaty truck houses here in Nova Scotia are Indigenous owned, and they are usually on reserve property or just on the outskirts of reserve property.
Okay, all right.
This one in particular, I believe, is kind of on the border, if I remember correctly.
Is it? Yeah, and as far as, obviously the people who were there that were yelling and screaming at the police officers, they're protesting,
Yes.
and they like the store. They want the store to continue. Stores operate. People are voting with their money because they're, supporting the store.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all of the Indigenous stores here in Nova Scotia are right now, they're banding together under a council. They are trying to make their own regulations, in hopes to work with the provincial and federal governments to allow the Indigenous, certain Indigenous stores to stand. And I hope that follows through.
Yeah, exactly. All righty. Time for us to move on to the next story of the day. And this one is coming to us from CTV News. The headline, as you see there, says, Cannabis recall in Quebec and Yukon. Elevated arsenic levels prompt another withdrawal of Lunaire products. Quebec producer Great White North Growers has updated its recall for some Lunaire brand dried cannabis products after tests showed elevated levels of arsenic, a toxic heavy metal. Now, the recall notice, first posted on January the 15th on the Health Canada website, was updated on Tuesday to include more products on the company's line. The items were sold through authorized retailers in Quebec, and they said that they were sold as well as in the Yukon. Officials say that the recall was triggered after Great White North Growers conducted a non-routine additional testing on the lot, which revealed the contamination. Now, a total of 2,916 units of the recalled products were sold from July the 17th of 2024 to January the 29th, 2026. Wow. They were sold through the authorized retailers, as I mentioned, in Quebec and the Yukon. In addition, 120 units of recalled products, that's the Lunaire Fleur de Lune dried cannabis. They were packaged on November the 11th, 2024, and they were sold to medical cannabis clients through a company called Medicbis. Now, they say Health Canada and the company are urging anyone who purchased the recalled product to stop using it immediately. Consumers can return unopened products to the retailer where they were purchased, or safely dispose of open products out of the reach of children and youth. I don't know about you, Cindy, but anything that was packaged in 2024 is already been consumed.
Oh, it's gone. Yeah.
Right? You would think so. That's just, yeah. Now, as far as the other products that have been added to the list, they are dried cannabis as well as more pre-rolls. I would suggest to anybody is to go to to get the whole list of all the different products. go to the Health Canada website or go to ctvnews.ca or ctv.ca, whatever it is here. Let me just think of it. ctvnews.ca and look for the story, right? And then you'll see the listing of that. But 2 years.
Yeah, pushing 2 years of this product being out there, and they're only finding it out now. Now, the last time we reported on, the first time we reported on this recall, it was only one product that they recalled, and they found it via the test that, like this unofficial, not normal test that they did for some whatever reason. I still like to know why they decided to go do it. They obviously went and tested other products since then. Mm-hmm. and found more issues. And if I've closed off the story, I think there were 8 or 9 different products that are listed now. So, yes. 7 or 8 products were added to the original recall. If you do have any of these products, please check them, get rid of them. Don't use them anymore. Arsenic is not something you want to put in your system.
No. And I recall when the story first came out, that we questioned, like, how can it only just be a few products? There's got to be more than just that. And sure enough, here it is. There's more.
Yeah, I'm still curious to why they decided to do the test. And then even more curious to, and I'm assume that they're investigating how the F did that product get in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I hope they are investigating the source.
Yeah,
of the arsenic, whether it's just whether it's in the water, whether you would think that they wouldn't be using.
How did it get in?
Well, if they're growing indoors, if it's an outdoor, then you've got the soil and all that. It's already out there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I don't know. Hopefully they can find out. So.
Yeah.
All righty.
Yep.
Shall we move on to the next one?
On to the next story. This story is coming to us from Cannabis Equipment News. There is a study that finds non-hallucinogenic psilocybin neural receptor, which is kind of neat for certain people. A new scientific study has identified a version of psilocybin, the active compound in magic mushrooms, that may activate key neural receptors without producing hallucinogenic effects, offering potential developing safer therapeutic applications. This is extremely important for people who may be suffering from, DID or schizophrenia or, an illness of the like. According to Cannabis Equipment News, the research could be a major step towards designing medicines that harness the benefits of psychedelics without the intense perceptual experiences often associated with them. Researchers focused on understanding how psilocybin interacts with different serotonin receptors in the brain, which are thought to influence mood, cognition, and perception. The study revealed that certain molecular variations of psilocybin can selectively target receptors linked to positive health outcomes, such as mood regulation and neuroplasticity, while minimizing activity at receptors responsible for altered states of consciousness. These findings carry important implication for the future of psychedelic medicines. Current clinical research into psychedelics have shown promise for conditions like depression, post-traumatic stress injuries, and anxiety, but the requirement for guided immersive experiences has limited broad clinical use. A non-hallucinogenic derivative could, in theory, be prescribed more widely, much like controversial antidepressants or antioxidants. While the research is still in its early stages and human trials are needed, scientists say this discovery opens the door to a new class of compounds that blend psychedelic pharmacology with mainstream medical practice, potentially expanding access to the benefits of psychedelic-inspired treatments without the need for the intense experiences. And Al, I think that for people that don't have certain illnesses or diseases, the hallucinogenic effects, altered consciousness is part of the medicine. But for those that can't have that altered consciousness, such as schizophrenia or DID or bipolar, I think this is an amazing step forward with these medicines to bring it to them.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's just like with cannabis. Not everybody wants to smoke it. Yeah. There's other ways of doing it. And not everybody wants to get high. either. So with this non-hallucinogenic version, people have that choice. Let's just hope that they don't take away that choice, and the people who prefer to have the hallucinogenic part of it all, that they can still have access to that.
Yeah. And I like that when they wrote this story, they did focus on the fact that this non-hallucinogenic version is good for the people that I mentioned. It would be really amazing to help somebody fight their schizophrenia or their DID or their bipolar and win those fights without having to over-medicate them on modern medicine. And if we can find a psilocybin strain that can help them without altering their perception and hurting them, possibly causing psychosis, it has happened, I think it would be a very beautiful and amazing thing.
Yeah, exactly. Just so you know, in the previous story, we had a comment that says that the weed is garbage, and anything with arsenic in it is. I completely agree with that person. So
yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
exactly. All righty, on our last story before we go to break, and this one comes to us from Marijuana Moment. The headline there says Trump signs bill continuing to block DC from legalizing recreational cannabis sales as advocates await rescheduling action. Story says, as advocates and stakeholders await action on a federal cannabis rescheduling proposal, President Donald Trump has signed large-scale spending legislation that continues a long-standing policy blocking Washington, D.C. from legalizing recreational cannabis sales. Despite this district voters approving adult use legalization for personal possession and cultivation at the ballot more than a decade ago. Now, local officials have been consistently prevented from allowing commercial sales due to an appropriations rider included in a funding bill covering financial services and general government. That rider, championed by Rep. Andy Harris, was maintained in the latest version approved by Congress and signed by the president on Wednesday as part of the large-scale funding package. While the renewal of the rider represents a setback for advocates, congressional analysts say that if federal officials follow through with moving cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act, that could free up DC to create a system of regulated sales. Now, in a report published in 2024, the Congressional Research Service said that while federal cannabis prohibition would still be the law of the land, it would permit the district government, as a matter of local law, to authorize the commercial sale of recreational cannabis, establish market regulations, and levy cannabis taxes, among other policy options. Now, they say there is a complication, however, because the congressional provision that's been annually renewed since 2014, so several presidents have done it, also stipulates that the District of Columbia can't use funds to legalize or reduce penalties for any THC derivative. But the term isn't clearly defined in the rider or anywhere else in federal law. Yeah, this has been an ongoing thing, Cindy. I've seen where other presidents in the past have signed it, and it just scratches my head. The voters approved it.
The money that they could make would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, if they just decriminalize this plant that grows naturally almost everywhere in the world, and Canada has proved it time and time again, and the states that have it legalized have proved it time and time again. Opiate use and opiate deaths, fentanyl deaths go down.
Yeah.
More people get sober and become, good, tax-paying citizens. And, I use quotation marks for that, but they become productive members of society, instead of being a hardship on society. And that's because of cannabis. We've seen that in Canada over and over again. And now, the government can finally make money on it. And I just wish that, they would see that. They would get their money. There would be less money spent on healthcare. It would just be a beautiful thing all the way around.
Yeah. Now, as I mentioned, other presidents have been signing this. This isn't just the Trump thing. Like he signed it in the past. Obama has signed it. Now I'm not sure who was before then, but yeah, it doesn't make sense, especially now going forward with the talking about rescheduling and all that. Even though it doesn't legalize it, like as the report mentioned, that Washington would be able to start setting up a commercial business to sell it, retail, and all that. The change. So,
yeah.
All righty. Anything else, or just head out to break?
We'll just head out to break.
We'll just head out to break. All right. We'll be back in about 3 minutes. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor? If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
All right, you're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Education News. I can't get all that out at once sometimes. All right,
so I like this acronym. You're watching Pace News.
Yes. All right. Well, this is this next story. This is going to be a doozy, you say?
I'm excited to share this story. Absolutely. We're going to go old school for this one and read the whole story together.
All right. Let's go at her. Oh.
I removed myself from the stage. I clicked the wrong button, but that's okay. Here we go again. We are live here at Pace Radio. Coming to us from the Canadian Lawyer. BC Court of Appeal allows ICBC's appeal on future care cost award for psilocybin in injury case.
In a motor vehicle accident case, the British Columbia Court of Appeal has allowed the Insurance Corporation of British Columbia's appeal and reduced an award for future care costs subject to future considerations of the injured party's psilocybin claim. In Insurance Corporation of British Columbia versus Roy Knoll, a man was driving a light truck in May of 2018 when he was rear-ended a parked vehicle that the respondent
he did the rear ending.
When he rear-ended a parked vehicle that the respondent was exiting. The respondent sustained serious injuries that upended her life. And these included
they included pain in the left arm, neck, and head, tinnitus, dizziness, and consistent migraines, central centralization syndrome, a condition involving higher sensitivity to pain and lower ability to cope with the pain, psychological injuries, including a major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and post-traumatic stress injuries, and suicidal thoughts popped up. The ICBC, the appellant in this case, defended the respondent's suit for damages against the other driver, as the parties did not dispute liability. The trial sought to quantify damages.
In May of 2024, a trial judge of the Supreme Court of British Columbia awarded the respondent around $1.428 million in damages. The judge relied on expert evidence supporting an award of costs for future care related to psilocybin capsules and psilocybin-assisted therapy. The judge acknowledged that psilocybin was a prohibited Schedule III substance under the Controlled Substances Act. However, he determined that
a physician with special permission from Health Canada could prescribe psilocybin, Section 56, or the SAP, as we know. There was no reason to assume that Health Canada would reject a request for the respondent's treatment. Psilocybin would be a reasonably necessary expense if and as prescribed by a physician according to Health Canada protocols. Psilocybin saved the respondent's life by warding off her suicidal thoughts. The ICBC appealed a lump sum portion of the 1.4 damages awarded for future costs, specifically $35,158.55 for psilocybin capsules and therapy to address the respondent's depression, suicidal ideation, and pain management issues.
The ICBC alleged that the judge misapplied the test for awarding future care costs by failing to properly analyze the claims medical justification and reasonableness, including the application of contingencies.
Mm-hmm.
They said that reducing the future care cost award by $35,000, the Court of Appeal for British Columbia remitted the psilocybin claim for a redetermination, possibly by applying a negative contingency to reflect the possibility that Health Canada would not authorize the substance.
Upon a remittal, the trial judge would answer the question based on the facts of the case. Would a lump sum award for psilocybin capsules and therapy be a reasonably necessary expense without proof of Health Canada permission at the time of trial? The appeal court acknowledged that the judge did not make obvious or palpable errors in assessing the evidence, including the respondent's imperfect evidence relevant to quantifying the award.
Now, the appeal court also accepted that the judge could find psilocybin-assisted therapy medically justified and a future care cost award of $8,000 warranted as long as the respondent could lawfully obtain and take psilocybin with Health Canada's authorization. However, the appeal court ruled that the judge erred in fixing an unconditional lump sum for the psilocybin portion of the future care cost awards, which fell short of the prerequisite of reasonableness he established.
The appeal court saw an inconsistency between the judge's assumption in his reasons that his award for psilocybin capsules and therapy would lead to payment only as and when a physician properly and lawfully prescribes psilocybin with Health Canada authorization, and the judge's order that simply required paying a lump sum including $35,000 plus for psilocybin capsules and therapy rather than reflecting the contingency contemplated in the reasons. This story just really caught my attention. First off, simply because it was actually awarded. I mean, a judge, no matter what the appeals court is doing and what comes of all that, a judge saw the benefits to this medicine.
Yes.
He just went around it the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah. A judge saw the benefits. There's awards there. Whether things get appealed going any further, who knows? But
who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this one. I hope that the plaintiff, like the lady that is requesting these monies and is suing for these monies, I hope she keeps going with it, because this is how we get started in changing these laws.
Exactly.
Right? She could be a big name, and not that that's why she's doing it, but these can mean big changes for other people in the country. And this is the reason why, instead of just doing a synopsis of it, I wanted to actually read the story and talk about it. I think that we are seeing an Owen Smith of psilocybin in the making.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If the courts are starting to accept it, be good.
That's pretty exciting.
Good. Yes, exactly. All righty, time for us to move on to the next story, and it's going to come to us from Entrepreneur. And the headline there says, NRA Normal file briefs in Supreme Court case challenging federal firearms ban for cannabis consumers. Now, the National Rifle Association, Independent Institute, and the FPC Action Foundation joined the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws in the filing of amicus briefs in United States versus Hemeny, a case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court that challenges the federal prohibition of the possession of firearms by anyone who is an unlawful user of or addicted to any controlled substance. Now, the brief from the NRA, Independence Institute, and the FPC notes that throughout history, restrictions on discharging firearms by intoxicated persons, along with sales to intoxicated persons, were imposed by the U.S. states and territories, but those restrictions ended when the individual was sober. The brief further notes that alcohol was ubiquitous to the early America, and that hemp has been cultivated in America since Jamestown. Now, the NRA-led brief also takes aim at the brief filed in support of the ban by Smart Approaches to Marijuana that contends cannabis legalization has led to an increase in bullying and that cannabis potency is greater than before. Now, the NRA brief points to a study funded by the National Institute of Justice that examined the effects of cannabis legalization on crime in Colorado and Washington, which found that cannabis legalizations and sales have had minimal to no effect on major crime in those states, and finding no statistically significant long-term effects of recreational cannabis sales or the initiation of retail sales on violent or property crimes rates in those states. Now, Normal's brief also notes the historical role of cannabis in the USA, noting, for centuries, Americans cultivated, consumed, and prescribed cannabis without any suggestion that doing so warranted loss of firearm rights. And state legal medical cannabis users readily continue to do so today with the protection of Congress. Now, they say the historical analogs that the government identifies concern temporary restrictions on carrying or firing weapons while intoxicated or on persons that are considered dangerous, not blanket bans on all users of a disfavored substance, the brief says. And the brief contends that cannabis consumers are among the people whose right to keep and bear arms the Second Amendment protects. There you go. I'm not a big, I'm not a gun lobbyist, not a big gun person. I don't own a gun. I've maybe shot a gun twice, and that was 40 years ago, type thing. But taking away a person's rights to own a gun because they consume cannabis, That's
You and I both know that cannabis doesn't make you want to do crazy things. It makes you rethink everything. Do I really want to do this?
yeah,
I don't like. I mean, we've talked about this on air before. Neither of us like to get high and drive.
yeah.
It's I don't want to do that. When I'm medicating, I want to be in a place where I can let that medication work and get rid of my anxiety and pain. And driving or firing a weapon are not two things that 99% of cannabis users really want to do.
As the NRA brief says, they don't want people, drunk shooting guns, but the person didn't lose the right to own that gun while they were sober.
Yeah.
Or to fire that gun while they were sober.
Yeah.
And people in the cannabis end shouldn't be any different.
I know that rifle ranges around here, if you walk in and you smell of cannabis, they'll check you out. They'll ask you questions, and they'll ask you, if they think you're high, they won't tell you that you can't. They'll just say, hey, listen, why don't we put you off by a half an hour?
Yeah.
Go for a walk around the store and enjoy, right? They're being safe about it, but here that I've seen, we're not being stopped.
No. And I know at the LCBO, I've talked to people in the past, they can tell the smell. People come in, and technically, if that person is high, they could say that they're intoxicated, because that's the word for people high on the New World things, and deny them access to that alcohol that they wanted to buy because it's just been consuming cannabis. So
really,
yeah. Because they can consider you intoxicated
and not sell you booze because you're high on weed.
Yeah, it's the same as if you go
in Nova Scotia, they sell them all in the same store, and they'll sell it to you together, and they'll suggest, hey, you're buying rum? We got this THC cola back here. They'll mix perfect, Yeah.
No, it's you're intoxicated.
Wow.
You're stoned, right? Wow. Yeah. All righty. From that story, we're moving on to
our next story. It's coming to us from Psy-Post. Psilocybin impacts immunity and behavior differently depending on diet and exercise context. It really does. New research suggests that the effects of psilocybin on the brain and body may depend heavily on an individual's lifestyle, particularly diet and exercise, potentially offering insight into how context shapes the compound's impact. According to Psy-Post, a study examining these variables found that the interaction between psilocybin and metabolic factors could influence both immunity and behavior in ways that vary depending on a subject's overall health and activity levels. The research points out that psilocybin's influence on neurobiology isn't uniform. For example, diets high in fat and sugar appeared to modulate how psilocybin affects certain neural pathways, while regular physical activities seem to enhance the beneficial outcomes. The findings highlight the importance of biological context in psychedelic research, suggesting that a one-size-fits-all model for therapeutic use might overlook key factors that influence efficacy and safety. Scientists involved in the study say that understanding these interactions could help tailor psychedelic-based therapies more effectively to individual patients, especially as this class of compounds moves deeper into clinical research and potential medical applications. By recognizing how lifestyle, including exercise habits and nutrition, may interact with psilocybin's effects, clinicians could better predict outcomes and optimize treatment plans. The study contributes to a growing body of work indicating that psychedelic effects aren't solely determined by dose and setting, although they are very, very important, but also by the broader biological context of the person taking them, a nuance that could prove crucial for future therapeutic protocols. And Al, I can say that this is one that I have learned in my educations with different medicines that I serve. with certain medicines, there is what we call a dieta that we want people to follow. Depending on the medicine, depends on how long you should follow it. I serve combo. You should follow it for 4 to 5 days minimum. And this includes healthy eating and walking, avoiding sugars, avoiding, bad fats, et cetera, avoiding spices. So this is worked into, the traditional ways of serving these medicines. I mean, if you go to, when I went to an Iboga retreat, I had to follow a certain dieta for at least 2 weeks. Yeah. If you go to an ayahuasca retreat, it's the same thing with a heavier, more restricted dieta. So yeah, this is something that I'm glad to see the research catching up on.
Yeah, the fact that it affects the immunity, as a person with an autoimmune condition, any way that you could build immunity in order to strengthen it is good.
Yeah.
Sure. It might be hard for them to, figure out like for every condition, medical condition, as far as matching diet and exercise to it. But
yes,
it starts someplace.
Yeah, well, the easiest way that I try to tell people, I'll give them a list of what to avoid, but it's really about eating clean. Like, make sure you're eating as much organic as you can. For people like you and I I can't switch off the white bread because anything with any kind of grain or in it, I can't digest. So I cut out bread for the dieta instead of switching. And things like that. And, so there are ways that we can take a person, like say for myself or you, and take the diverticulitis diet and then just kind of mesh it with a dieta. And, it's not that hard to do. It's harder to actually be the person that walks through it. My first dieta just about killed me.
Oh, yeah.
You want me to cut out what? I had to cut out caffeine, and the sugars were one thing. The white flour was one thing. Like I said, I just cut out bread.
Yeah.
But cutting out, I had to cut out caffeine. I had to cut out red meat of all kinds, and it was just like you what?
Yeah. Yeah, I know how you feel. I had to cut out the breads and the red meats, all that, when I got Crohn's. So I know what you mean.
It's hard when, especially when you really enjoy something, right?
Yeah.
I now eat a little bit of red meat, and, my second and third and fourth dieta were nowhere near as hard because I had an idea of what to prepare for. That first dieta, though, holy jiminies, it was hard.
All right. We're heading to the last story of the day, and it comes to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference. Headline says South Africa seeks public comments for draft cannabis regulations. South Africa's Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Developments recently published a draft regulatory proposal that would officially set the limits for adult use cannabis cultivation and possession limits. The government is urging citizens of South Africa to weigh in on the proposal. They say, according to the government's announcement, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development invites interested parties to submit written comments on the draft regulations under the Cannabis for Private Purposes Act of 2024. Now, the proposed regulations would involve the following: setting a cannabis cultivation limit at 5 cannabis plants at a private residence at any time, regardless of the plant size or strain. Setting a cannabis possession limit for adults of 750 grams of cannabis per day for private use, whether in private or public place. Allowing adults to transport no more than 750 grams of cannabis per day, including cannabis still attached to the plant. Now, all public comments must be submitted not later than Thursday, March the 5th, 2026, to be considered. So you got a month. Now, the proposed regulations involve additional conditions regarding the transportation of cannabis. It says, the cannabis being transported must be concealed from public view during transportation by ensuring that the cannabis is placed in the boot, trunk, or at the back or in the enclosed storage compartment of the transporting vehicle. And the proposed regulations state, if it is not possible to transport the cannabis in the boot, trunk, or at the back, or in the enclosed storage compartment of the transporting vehicle, the cannabis must be transported in a storage container. Now, provided that the structure of the container ensures that the cannabis is concealed from public view, and if the storage compartment of the transporting vehicle is not fully enclosed, the cannabis must be covered to ensure that it's completely concealed from public view. What do you think of those limits?
Oh my goodness. One of the things I think is absolutely fun about the new way we're doing this is I get to sit here and like yell stuff at the screen. I'm allowed, if I go to South Africa, one person can have 750 grams a day.
Yeah.
I'm allowed that a month legally here in Canada.
Yeah. 750 grams, setting a possession limit for adults. 750 grams of cannabis per day for private use.
Now, I like and don't like how they've written some of these laws.
It's like a pound and a half, just to give people an idea.
A day.
A day.
A day. I like that, they've been a little bit more detailed than I've seen in other countries writing their laws. Although the growing of the plants, I think, is going to be a little bit annoying and hard. Like you can only have 5 going. Now, when you first read it, I was like 5, like nice, right? No matter of their size. Oh, so I can't get ready to cut those ones down and then start new seedlings. Those have to be down and, dead before I'm allowed to pop another seed. So, I wish that they might make amendments for that in the future. But beyond that, I mean, that's like,
Yeah, even here for our medical program, if a patient chooses to have an indoor-outdoor license, so they can grow indoors in the winter and outdoors in the summer, sounds cool. That means, if you want to continue your strains, cut some clones in the summer before they go into bloom, and you bring them inside so your strains can continue. But unfortunately, under the program, that is not allowed.
Nope.
Not allowed to do that. You're supposed to wait for those plants outside to completely be harvested, and then you're supposed to start new seeds. So you're supposed to kill off your medicine.
Yep.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Nope. And I know people that pre-legalization and not very long after legalization were rated for their quote unquote illegal grows. And really part of it was legal and part of it wasn't, because like they had one of the pink gold papers. So the person I'm thinking of, they were rated and, a branch would fall off one of his trees and that branch would be called another plant.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah. No.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so, it makes me kind of sad that they're doing that. And I think that's one of the things that we still need to work to change. But I do like how they have been a little bit more detailed than many other countries in that way. They have given amazing limits. Like, I mean, I can go get I can't smoke 750 or even eat 750 grams in a day. Are you freaking kidding me? Holy cannoli. But
I know,
yeah, like they're definitely making sure that people are covered. And, I think that might be a great thing, because maybe Joe down the road doesn't actually grow. So Bill up here wants to take him 1.5 pounds to help him get by in the next month or two.
And it said you can transport 750 grams. We're only allowed 30 for a rec and 150. So at the most 180 grams here in Canada for a patient.
Yep.
And they can get 750.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get 180 grams a month, and they can get 750 a day.
A day. All right, like that stuff. Okay, anything else before I sign us off?
Yeah, listen, I want to share some news. It is still a little unofficial. We're just waiting for the official okay by the people that we're going to be renting from. But the Nova Scotia Psychedelic Society here in Halifax we're putting on a social. It's coming up hopefully a week from today. I will know for sure on Monday about the date. And share it then. But we are going to be talking about sex and psychedelics. Woo!
All right.
Being led by one of our board members, who is also a sex therapist, Jewel, and her partner, TR, who is actually one of the founders of the Nova Scotia Psychedelic Society. So I'm hoping for a good weather day that day so I can make it up. It will be held in Halifax. I will share the location on Monday. It'll be 7 p.m. Monday on the night of the 12th, we hope. So keep that open, save the date. I'm really excited for this one. It should be amazing. Jewel and TR are very smart in their field. He's a tantra. She's a sex therapist, and he is a tantra therapist and teacher. So I'm really excited to share that. And on another note, has nothing to do with necessarily cannabis or psychedelics, depending. The Olympics are being held right now in Milano, Italy. Yeah. So I'm celebrating with drinking my Milano coffee from BC.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
It was it was like when I went out, I saw my Milano coffee sitting there. I'm like, oh, that's funny. So I had to come and share.
Now back to your Nova Scotia Society.
Psychedelic Society?
Yes. Doesn't sound like that's going to be live streamed.
No, it isn't. It's an in-person thing. And it's we usually hold them at the Shambhala Center, which is on Tower Road in Halifax. And like I said, we're just waiting to hear back with confirmation from the Shambhala Center about whether that night is open for us to rent the hall. So it's an in-person thing. It's a community thing. It's usually, we usually get, 40, 50 people in there, and we would love to host more. We kind of hold it like a potluck. You can bring a meal, you can bring, some food to share, some sweets to share. Or you can, if you can't, you can just come yourself. So we set up a table and we have some plates and whatnot. And, it's usually a nice gathering. We'll have a lead discussion, usually followed by just mingling before and after. It's wonderful. So if you're seeking psychedelic community here in Nova Scotia, it's a wonderful place to come on out and meet peers.
All righty. Sounds good. Sounds like a good time.
It is.
You better miss out on that.
Oh, and speaking of that, we did have one more speech in the speaker series, and I have gotten a copy of that. So I'm gonna get that ready to upload and share at some time in the near future.
All right, and we'll run that on the network. Sounds good. All right, that's it for today. We hope you found it informative and educational. Thanks go out to our viewers and our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. Also, thanks to our sponsors, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as At-Eze.ca. We'll see you Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. And as I always say, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more. We've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.